Choose life. Choose a job. Choose a career. Choose a family. Choose a fucking big television. Choose washing machines, cars, compact disc players, and electrical cinemas. Choose a podcast. Choose the Untitled Film Podcast. Hey there, ladies and gents, boys and girls. It's time for another commentary track for the Untitled Film Podcast. Once again, I am revisiting the Marvel Cinematic Universe from scratch, going through all of the films one by one after the phenomenon that was Endgame, and seeing how my feelings are affected by obviously everything that happens in the final film in the MCU so far. Well, so far, say that we've got Spider-Man Far From Home coming out in about a week in the UK, and I guess the rest of the world. But yeah, so far I've rewatched the first Iron Man film, and I've rewatched The Incredible Hulk. You can catch those episodes wherever you get your podcasts from. I'm assuming if you listen to this one, you've already listened to them. But if not, go back, search our back catalogue. They are there. And without further ado, get your discs ready, or your downloads, or however you're watching your film. Get it ready. Sync up, and we'll dive into the film. Okay, so we've got the stars coming down, and we've got the Paramount logo on the screen now. So the film is opening up with the press conference, literally at the end of the first Iron Man film. We can hear the voiceover from that. And we're in Moscow. So, the opening of the film is calling back to the ending of the first Iron Man film in order to introduce us to the Vankos. We've got Ivan Vanko here, played by Mickey Rourke. And his father's dying, watching the press conference where Tony announces himself as Iron Man. So, this film came out 2 years after the first Iron Man and The Incredible Hulk, obviously, because they were released like a month apart. And I remember there was a lot of kind of speculation as to what was going to happen with the second film in the Iron Man franchise after it was confirmed that it was coming out, and then we heard that Whiplash was going to feature as like the antagonist of the film, and there was a lot of kind of like speculation as to who was going to play him, and then Mickey Rourke was announced as being cast as Whiplash, and I remember loads of people were saying it was a good move to cast him as it, because at this point I think he was riding the high of The Wrestler. So he was having his own kind of comeback of a sort. Mickey Rourke's fingernails always creep me out. They look weird, don't they? So here we see him coming up with his own version of the arc reactor, which we find out that his dad had a hand in designing with Howard Stark, which serves as a point of contention between Ivan and Tony. Sets them up as opposites, yin and yang, if you will. And it's obviously, self-referential here because it's echoing Tony in the cave in Gulmira when he was captured and coming up with the arc reactor himself from a box of scraps. Look at his fingernails. Oh, he's like his thumbnail. John Favs. Okay, so we've got the Iron Man 2 title card just disappearing now. So hopefully you're all synced up. And I shall not mention it again. Bit of Akadaka. It's interesting because I remember when the teaser trailer came out, it was an extended version of him jumping out of the back of the plane. There was a little bit of dialogue between him and Pepper. But they chose to chop that out for the film. So this is just obviously showing that Tony is fully embracing his superhero persona. And we get to see that he's kind of slightly tweaked his mechanisms for getting in and out of the suit. Obviously, it just comes out of the stage there now, and is a lot quicker than what it was in the first film, where Pepper walks in on him and he was struggling with the arms and stuff to actually get out of the suit, and he's like, oh, let's face it, this isn't the worst thing you've caught me doing. No such issues now. And even though it's like an obvious thing where Tony is constantly creating like new suits, I feel that like on a low-key kind of level, it's subtly done throughout the course of the film. It's like, yeah, we get to see new suits and stuff, but the way that the new suits in each subsequent film, is utilised subtly shows the improvements that is made through the previous film's kind of roadblocks that he bumps into with the suits and stuff, you know. Throwing down the gauntlet, so to speak. Of course it's about you. So here we're seeing something that's going to come back later on in the film, the tabletop Stark Expo road plan thing, as we see Tony testing his blood toxicity. Which is setting up his own internal conflict here. Ugh, Olivia Munn. I wonder if they bring Psylocke into the MCU, how they're going to explain her being a TV reporter. Okay, there's Peter Parker. That's his first appearance in the film. And we've got Stan the Man. And what a throwaway cameo this is. Kate Mara. Again, if they bring the Fantastic Four into the MCU, how are they going to explain Sue Storm being a federal marshal? And this Senate hearing now obviously plays a very different kind of way after certain revelations that come a little bit later on in the film series concerning Senator Stern here. I love how he's getting scolded by Pepper. And here we've got the genius that is Sam Rockwell. I love how Justin Hammer, who Sam Rockwell's playing here, tries to copy Tony at every point. I mean, it's quite subtle in this scene here, but the suit that he's wearing is very similar in style and colour to the suit that Tony's got on. And here we got Don Cheadle playing Rhodey for the first time. And that line is obviously meant as a bit of a nudge and a wink to the audience, addressing the recasting of Terrence Howard from the first film. As if just to say to the audience, yeah, it's me. I'm here. Deal with it. Yeah. This bit always reminded me of Robocop 2 with the failed iterations of Omnicorp to make Robocop 2. Sorry, I'm a little bit snotty. I think I'm coming down with a cold. Ouch. Obviously, Tony's choices are shown to have a worldwide impact. As we keep cutting back over to Moscow here. I really wish it had stopped showing his fucking fingernails. What is going on with those fucking fingers? Look at them. And we got Bettany's buttery smooth voice. Back as Jarvis. Oh. So here we've discovered that Tony is slowly being poisoned by the use of the arc reactor in the chest. I like how the spread of the infection, as it were, coming out from the arc reactor in his chest is almost like wires, like a circuit coming out, rather than like veins and stuff, which would be more. I would imagine they would curve more like veins do, but there's lots of straight lines and 90-degree turns on that. I think I'm catching my cold or pepper. That is modern art. I've just printed my own t-shirt with that on, actually. Whenever Downey has these interactions with Pepper, it does feel very improvised. But again, I believe there was a bit of rewriting going on this film as it was being shot because of, well, there was a bit of studio interference from Marvel, and Jon Favreau. I know they butted heads a little bit on this film, because Marvel wanted more stuff in the film to actually set up, elements for the movies going forward. They wanted, Shield to have a bigger role in it, and pushed for more references. That's probably why we got Captain America Shield in there. And a look back to Howard Stark, who was obviously going to factor in the Captain America film. Got Mickey Rourke being Mickey Rourke. Oh, holy shit. I forgot how good she looks with long hair. Specifically long red hair. Exactly. Hashtag me too, Tony. Hashtag me too. Not quite a TKO, Tony. More of a submission, but you know. It's a real shame they didn't keep the long hair. I do like the long hair. But I've always been a sucker for redheads. I want one too. So the Iron Man films are gone international now. Here we are in Monaco for the Grand Prix. Tony is taking a page out of Bruce Wayne's book in The Dark Knight Returns. If you don't get that reference, go and read The Dark Knight Returns. I mean, really. Why haven't you already? And a weird cameo that most people probably didn't know about back in the day. But now you can't get away from Elon Musk, so... That shake of the head says everything. We need a film of just like these two. I'd love to see like the outtakes of just these two bouncing off each other. Yeah, Tony's already had that slot. Oh. So Tony is obviously a little bit, affected by this slow poisoning, where he's adopting this much more kind of devil-may-care attitude towards life. So I was reading an article today that was estimating that Tony's wealth is 12.4 billion. Seems low, especially considering all the tech he's got. But and this was a big shot from the trailer with the Whiplash walking out onto the track here. Right, so riddle me this, Batman. If that car got chopped like that, like if you go back and like freeze frame as it chops through from the side shot, there's no room for Tony's legs there, unless Tony like literally is 4 foot nothing. So apparently Mickey Rourke went full Mickey Rourke when he was cast for this. The whole, like, he was given free reign over his character to a degree. So he looked into, like, legit Russian tattoos, and he wanted metal teeth. That fucking toothpick that he's always chomping on. Pretty sure that would have killed him. This is still the coolest, even like to this day. I think this is the Mark V suit. That's just fucking badass, that. But as we can see here, because the suit is like segmented, because it had to fit into the size of a suitcase, it's not the most durable. So you can see the flex of the blue race suit underneath, where like chunks of the suit have been taken off by the whips. I love that shot of the Iron Man suit, because like, even though you can't see Downey's face in it, you know exactly what he's thinking, just through the body language of the suit. I'm surprised you got nothing back on those manky fucking fingers. This is why you get Mickey Rourke. was a cool move for casting Gary Shandling. Excuse me, I just need to take a swig. Great inventor, not a great cook. Hey, Pooch. If only she knew that his battery is about to run out. I always like this scene because you can tell exactly what's happening without any dialogue whatsoever. Just that little brush of the shoulder. You know that Vanco's not meant to be fucked with. That's another reason why you get Mickey Rourke. This bit always gets me. Just look at these palms. You can tell he's been putting his own fucking false tan on. He's just got it all over his palms. An absolute dope. Just look at his fingers. I believe that was a bit of improv on his part, because when he put it in, the light was supposed to come straight on, and when it didn't work, he just rolled with it, uh, tapped it, and then when it came on, he, obviously had that little reaction there. That was all unscripted. This hangar here, I believe, was or is the SpaceX hangar, which explains Elon Musk's earlier cameo in the film, because he allowed them to shoot on location at SpaceX here for Hammer's warehouse. So here, Tony is sinking into depression now. That devil may care attitude has subsided, and now he's faced with the real possibility that this birthday is quite possibly his last birthday. So I'm pretty sure, like, the everything that Downey's wearing there above the waist is real. Everything below the waist, like his legs, is CG. Now, I know people at the time thought that his drunken kind of antics here were going to lead to the Demon in a Bottle storyline, from the comic books. Obviously, they didn't, but either way, it was a nice nod to see Tony lose control through alcohol. So here we've got Rhodey finally suiting up in the Mark II and becoming War Machine in an effort to stop Tony from doing something he really could regret. I love the look of the Mark II suit here. It looks so real as well. Ba-dum, bum, bum, ba-dum. And what I really love about this fight scene is... Well, I love that shot, but I love the difference in approach that both characters have, because literally Tony's worn the suit a number of times at this point. Whereas this is Rhodey's first time. And you can see how proficient Tony is actually using the suit and the tech. Whereas Rhodey is struggling a little bit, I think it's fair to say. There was a little subtle clue to Natasha's character there. If you go back and watch where they fell through the ceiling, Pepper screams, and Natasha adopts like a ready stance, like a fighting pose kind of thing. I find it interesting that there was a shot there where Tony screams at the people and they all start running off, but you actually see his reflection or the Iron Man suit's reflection in the glass, and in effect, could be read as Tony kind of like, screaming at his own internal demons kind of thing with the Iron Man, the personality clash between Tony Stark and the Iron Man suit. And if anyone's paying attention, yeah, the Ghostbusters crossing the beams scene there, that's just setting up the Chekhov's gun that will come and pay off in the climax of the film. So the government effectively got their wish, and they now have their own little piece of Stark tech. Pretty difficult to tell what's CG and what's real. I mean, obviously that was a practical suit. I think back in these days, the majority of the stuff, anything above like the waist, like the chest and shoulder pieces that Tony's got on there, that's real, whereas the legs were all done in CG. And here we've got Nick Fury. Sam Jackson in a diner. Is anyone else wishing that... what are they called? Honey Bunny and Pumpkin tried some shit with the bad motherfucker that is Nick Fury? Oh my god. Yeah. So then we've got confirmation that Tony knew that Rhoda was going to have a suit at some point, built into the software, the ability for him to actually use it. Hey, Pooch. Just shows how much of a charlatan that Hammer is. Yeah, when birds fucking bite you in the ass. This is, I'm guessing, one of the interventions, shall we say, from Marvel, because when Nick was talking to him in the diner, the way he phrased it, "You haven't tried everything," made it sound like he knew about an element that Tony didn't, whereas this conversation muddies the water a little bit and makes it unclear. Does Nick know that there's another element? Or is Tony the only one who can decipher the riddle of his heart? Whatever the fuck that means. So it's little things like that in the story which makes people kind of shit on this film a little bit, constantly saying that it's just filler and one of the worst. It's definitely not one of the worst. but it has its problems. I know this is just a prop, but look at all the detail that's gone into like the workings underneath the chest piece. He's just a hacky salesman, isn't he? I expect him to pull a vacuum cleaner out of this fucking suitcase here. Say that 5 times. So here we've got Tony pouring through some of his old, his father's old blueprints and film tins. Young Tony. Oh, you little scamp. Seems like Howard had a few demons with the bottle as well. So Tony and Howard had a bit of a contentious relationship. It's a little bit kind of on the nose, but the message from the past, addressing him directly. See, that just doesn't really make much sense, because if is he limited by the technology of his time in order to manufacture the element? I mean, if it's an element, surely it's readily available without refinement. I don't know how elements work. You Iron Man? Sometimes. How red are those strawberries, man? I like how awkward Tony is when he's trying to be sincere with his apology here. That just kind of like shows the way his brain works. He knew there was a correlation between pepper and strawberries, but he missed the fine detail. Which he tends to do with a few things. And that's a little bit on the nose as well. These have always been some of the coolest scenes in the Iron Man films, where he's just acting against nothing and waving his hands around as if he's manipulating holograms. It's very Prometheus. And a montage is the quickest way to a new element. It's a shame they lost these kind of scenes from like the subsequent films with Tony going all MacGyver. Or 18, pick your reference. But after a certain point in the stories, you didn't need to see him in hardware mode. It's interesting that Coulson would be drawn to Cap Shield, or a prototype thereof, considering how much of a fan we would find out that he is of the first Avenger. Ah, the triangular arc reactor. I know some people weren't happy with this, but that's nerds for you, I guess. Danny's workout routine. And in parallel to that, Ivan has taken the advice that Tony offered him in the prison cell on board, and he's come up with his own version of a new call. He's very childish, his Hammer, isn't he? You know exactly what's going to happen to them too. I love how he's just like hung them. Like he's kicked the fuck out of them and then hung them. Or hanged. Proper grammar. It's like the MCU's version of the Predator. Except he doesn't skin them, but still. Not quite sure how that would reverse like the poisoning instantaneously, but it doesn't matter. Still a cool shot. She's got a good waddle. Good wiggle. Sam Rockwell dancing in a film. Who doesn't love that? Loves to have a little boogie in the films. Just see Charlie's Angels for further a footstep in. It's interesting because it's kind of where we're actually heading in real life. So, Mickey Rourke is not very computer literate, and it kind of shows in these scenes where you see him tapping away on a keyboard. falling glass on people. Now, Vanko worked on the drones, but he didn't work on the Stark suit or the War Machine suit, so I'm not entirely sure how he's able to hack into the War Machine system. Because if it was that simple for him to just hack the code, then surely he'd be able to hack in and hijack the Iron Man suit. Again, another one of those little inconsistencies that kind of knock the film down a peg. And all shooting the wads. Lots of fucking shots of his fingernails in this film. They really creep me out for some reason. I just... And here's our second shot of Peter Parker. And that is confirmed. It is definitely Peter Parker. So... Star Pappy, you absolute hound. Fuck me, I would have wrapped that car around a ram post if I was driving that car. Don't criticise it. She's wearing what she needs to wear. Oh, curly red hair. They really should. They really should have kept the long hair on her, but anyway. It's interesting. She's got the like electric gauntlets on, but she doesn't use them in this film. But they are part of the costume if you look closely around her wrists. Maybe they were saving it for the reveal in excuse me, in the Avengers film. Get them two just hung there. So creepy, man. Not the first time we'll hear that the fight is coming to you. Hemorrhoid, what a line. Wakey wakey. And this is our Iron Man version of RoboCop. And this was a big moment from the trailer as well. where the masks come down and then lots and lots of shooty. I love how he just like loosens his hands out there. Nice. See, for everyone who shits on this film, how can you not love this scene? As brief as it is, but I mean, it's still... Hammer tech? Yeah. So here we have that Chekhov's gun moment that I mentioned earlier. Adios, I am Vanko. This is a little bit Neo racing towards Trinity, but Still a cool shot when he dives in and then grabs her and flies out. It's fair to say that suit is fucked. Oh. Oh. Yeah. I like how he rages against the first two and argues against the first 2 points, and then when it comes to narcissism, he's just like, yep, guilty as charged. And that was Iron Man 2. I think it's fashionable to shit on Iron Man 2 now, but I do recall it getting favourable reviews on release. I remember enjoying it, not as much as the first film, because, like I say, there are a few problems with the film. But on the other hand, there's some really good kind of little character moments in there. I like the interactions between Tony and Peppy. You see their relationship kind of like, you know, evolving over time. I mean, it's still a will they, won't they relationship, and Pepper's a little bit more standoffish with him, especially when he's going through his self-loathing phase. I really like the kind of little intimate moments that Tony has with Natasha, especially when he's asking her advice on what she would do if it was her last birthday. And she says she would do whatever she wants with whoever she wants. And there's a kind of nice little kind of tender melancholy to that kind of scene there. And there is a relationship kind of formed in those little quiet moments between the two, which somewhat goes away in, you know, the next couple of films. She kind of is refocused with Captain America in The Winter Soldier, and, you know, Bruce in the Avengers movies, but she still has some kind of connection with Tony, regardless. Other things I like about the film, like I mentioned before, at the fight scene between Tony and Rhodey at his birthday party, I liked how Tony is so much more proficient with the technology now, because he's used it more than what Rhodey has. And he's easily able to, even though Tony's pissed, he's easily able to kind of get the upper hand on him until, you know, Rhodey smashes him over the head with a kitchen sink. Sam Rockwell is just Sam Rockwell. You can't not love Sam Rockwell in anything that he's in. He always brings something different to the table, regardless of what kind of character he's playing. He makes choices that are outside the box, and, you know, fully commits to a character, and he's always fun to watch. Mickey Rourke, he crushes it in the prison scene where, you know, he's got the speech about how, you know, if you can make God bleed, people will stop believing. I know he was kind of lowballed by Marvel. I think they only wanted to pay him like $250,000 or something like that, and it's like, he's definitely worth more than that. It is stunt casting, and it is a shame that his character goes away so quickly. It would have been nice to keep him around as more of a ongoing threat for Iron Man, but as it turns out, that's not where they wanted to take the character. So as such, you know, he's kind of disposed of in one film the same way as Ironmonger was from the first film, which is a shame in a way, because, you know, by keeping those characters around, they could make a return in subsequent films. But, you know, I suppose that's the thing with the MCU over the comics. The comics have got much more freedom to bring a character back, you know, down the road, whereas these films, they need a sense of conclusion to them, because you can't keep these actors around forever, and that's, you know, essentially what they've kind of come up against with Endgame. Certain characters aren't with us anymore, so, you know, it's a different way of telling the stories, as we'll find out when we go into, you know, Avengers and Iron Man 3, and Civil War. What I didn't like, yeah, it's messy from a story point of view. Certain things don't kind of make sense in the grand scheme of things, they do feel shoehorned in there to, lay the path towards, reoccurring appearances in the Avengers films, and, setting up Coulson and setting up, Tony's dad, all those kind of things. Tony's a tough one because he doesn't really move forward in this film very much. He's still kind of in the place that he was at the end of the first Iron Man film. The only kind of progression he has is, I suppose... Well, no, he's not... He doesn't really have much of a motivation in this. I mean, he does learn a few things about his dad, which is a little bit convenient. But still, I mean, Downey at this point had solidified himself as Tony Stark. Him and the character, they're so kind of linked together, it's difficult to actually see anyone else even coming close to portraying Stark. Here we have the end stinger. We're at the end of the credits now, and we've got the end stinger, which is setting up the next film in the MCU. We get to see Coulson actually go down to the Land of Enchantment in New Mexico and find out the reason why he's been called down here. That choral element there with, shit being dug in the desert echoes a little bit of Raiders of the Lost Ark, and there we get the glimpse of Mjolnir with a thunder strike in the background. So that was Iron Man 2. I still like the film. It's still fun. I love the Mark V suiting up scene at Monaco. Fantastic. Still to this day, one of my favourite suits, even though, we don't see it again, unfortunately. Still, a lot of fun to be had with the film. Regardless of its flaws, it's still fun just to see Robert Downey Jr. inhabit the role of Tony Stark so flawlessly. So, yeah, I like the film. It's not perfect. It does have flaws, but it's still a lot of fun. And was kind of a solid sequel to the first film. And when the first film is so well-rounded, it was always going to be a tall task to, better it. But, it is what it is. It is what it is. I enjoy it. And I always have fun with the Iron Man films. So, yeah. That's Iron Man 2. And that's the commentary for Iron Man 2. I hope you enjoyed rewatching the film with me. The next film in the MCU that we're going to be revisiting is Thor. We're going to get all Shakespearean with the mighty Thor. And when I heard that Thor was going to, be released, I remember saying to the girlfriend at the time, fuck Thor. So, on that bombshell, I'm going to end this commentary. Thank you very much for listening. Thanks for joining me, and I hope you'll enjoy me. I hope. It's late. Forgive me. I hope you'll join me for the next commentary track of Thor. So, until then, guys, take it easy.